Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Airsoftaholics Anonymous. Today, I'm again sitting across from Raymond, staring deeply into his eyes. They're so beautiful. And Chalker is rubbing my nipples. He is about an inch too high, though, so I'm not really getting stimulated. Okay, that is getting really stimulating. Alrighty.
That made a turn. That took a turn.
Yeah, that took a very sharp turn very quickly. And today in Airsoftaholics Anonymous, we are going to be talking about training for airsoft and why you should train. Which I think everyone here kind of believes that you should train for airsoft. Raymond, do you believe it?
To an extent. I think it's more so like, it's kind of that personal preference. Like we did it because we had a couple guys on the team when we were running Spectra, I should say, that were in the military or were joining the military. So I know for all three of us here and for the rest of the guys, Tim, again, no show for this episode. I think he was in episode 1, hasn't been one since, but...
You're right.
I think he was in 1 and 2.
Maybe. I don't know. But anyway.
Who the fuck cares?
For us, it was enjoyment. We had some guys that knew a couple things, and for us, it was just, the extra thing to do to hang out and everything. We obviously did take it to the field. We did see success. But it's really that personal preference, but that's my opinion on it.
I agree to an extent. Definitely not to the point where you're having literal PT and you have people screaming at you. Oh my, Tim.
Yeah, okay. Those two.
I definitely think like PT, like on the field with your team, like you shouldn't be like out there being like run up Mount Trashmore or duck walk up Mount Trashmore, whatever the fuck they made you do. I think that's kind of extreme. But I think if you're going to be like a mildly serious team, you have to train.
Yeah.
There's no like ifs, ands, or buts about it, because when you go to an event, you're going to get your ass slapped by a lot of people.
I mean, PT within your training team, within training for airsoft, I should say, it's not a terrible thing, because I know there are a handful of groups out there that do it. I think, again, it's really your personal preference. If you have a team and everyone's like, hey, let's hang out, like, we'll work out, let's, airsoft is exercise.
Yeah.
So if you're taking it to that next level of exercise, why not? People, GMR did it, Task Force Neptune does it, the Midwestern group does it, OMG does it, they'll just go on a hike or something like that, or hey, let's go to the gym, we'll lift some weights or something like that. You get your cardio up so you can last longer in the field, and it's not a bad idea. I mean, I'm a dad bod that smokes, so
yeah,
and eats wings all the time.
I do like chicken
I don't
wings.
think there's any issue with like physical training for airsoft as like, but I think there's definitely like, for me, like, if you want to be, like, the fastest guy on the field, there's a lot of fields where, like, you start and, like, you have to, like, if you get to, like, say Zulu, right? You start at, like, the top starting point. Mm-hmm. If you fucking sprint it to the top of the mosque, like, you're going to get a great drop on the people that are at the other starting point,
Yeah.
If not, like, your team could kind of get butt-fucked the entire day.
Yeah.
So I think, like, in that aspect, it's not a bad idea. And I think it kind of just goes hand in hand with, like, tactical training, whereas it basically helps you last longer on the field.
Basically, it's like an airsoft. You don't need to train. For instance, you have people who are morbidly obese playing it and will not run a single day in their lives or do anything, and will just walk around with, like, an HPA light machine gun, just hip firing it everywhere.
Right.
But
how effective are those people?
Well, I mean, HPA's light machine gun. It's
the cheat code. It's the cheat code.
It's Vietnam tactics. Shoot enough, and eventually you hit something.
Yeah, I guess so.
But on that note, though, in your opinions, I should say, what are some things that if you are going to train, you should train for? What are some things you should look into?
Well, I think, like, I guess, like, for me to, like, you should train because it broadens your skill set. Mm-hmm. So, like, you might not be sneaky, but if you're like, Chalker, train me how to be sneaky, you might get a little bit sneakier, and thus you're, like, broadening your skill set.
Right.
Or training can also just like improve the skills you already have and make you more effective on the field. And plus, like, training just puts you into, like, it might put you in a scenario that you've never been in before. And so when you're into another scenario you've never been in before, you're a little bit faster and a little bit more capable of
handling a situation.
Yeah. And I think that's where, like, a lot of people...
You try to become the jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah. I mean, you're not, like, the master of, like, anything, but, like, you're better at everything than a lot of other people.
Right.
Because I really don't, like, see people in airsoft that don't train that are, like, an absolute master at something, you know?
Yeah. I think I know. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I think really the core things to really, like, if you are a team, you're going to train, you're going to go to, you know, MSATO, Third Coast, Line Claws games, whatever. I think the core things to look at would be, you know, breach and clear. Yeah. You know, you want to get into a room, do it properly, so you're not just running into a room like a gaggle fuck and getting shit on. And
like breaching and clearing, I think is definitely something, especially going, like you said, to a Milsim event where like people get scared. You know, we've all been at a Milsim event where like, all right, we're gonna go on 3, and then like when you say 3, like. I mean, first of all, Chalker
you're halfway across the bridge.
Chalker goes on 1. First of all, he goes on 1.
You don't want to give him that 3 seconds of like, all right, let's get ready for an attack. No, you just want to fucking kick in the door and go.
But like a lot of people, when you say 3, like 90% of the people just don't go.
Yeah, they stand still.
And I think like that training, especially breaching training, is really useful because it'll work out that like, you know, when we're at Goldmine. And we're like, all right, well, we're going to put, like, someone in the room.
I still managed to pull off sneaky shit in there.
And, like, most people are like, oh, I don't know if I actually want to go in the room now that there's going to be someone in there and I have to breach it real close to them.
Yeah.
And plus, like, if you actually work that shit out, you're probably not going to fist fight someone when you get shot, like, 3 feet away.
Mm-hmm. Well, you shouldn't be fist fighting anybody, but let's...
Yeah, but we all know someone that has.
True.
The way that I see it with, like, training, there's, like... 3 different aspects. You have like physical, then you have the all-around general thing like breaching, clear, and working with your team and all that. And then you have, if you have like a special thing or like specified thing you want to work with, in for instance with me like being sneaky, you have that. It's like when you're doing physical, honestly the best thing I can think of is just cardio, because in airsoft, let's face it, you're not going to be like lifting someone up and carrying them over your shoulders.
Yeah, you might have a down pilot mission.
Yeah. And for most instances, you're not going to be lifting up, like, really heavy shit unless they're, like, lion claws, and they're like, all right, this team's doing too good. Give them, like, a 200-pound objective to move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right.
I think, really, if we're going to go into that, really, how you just said it, or really, like... how extreme you should go, because obviously we all know teams that are out there that go to that extreme with training for airsoft, because it's a whole nother side topic of this real quick. It's just like people treat it 3 different ways. Airsoft, a hobby. Some people like speeds. This is mostly for the general person who plays airsoft treats it like a hobby. That's kind of like how the 3 of us are. Then you have, like, generally speedsofters treat it a little bit more like a sport. There are some other guys that play Milsim and stuff like that that treat it like a sport. And then you have guys like...
training.
Task Force Neptune or GMR or the Ohio Milsim group. They treat it like a lifestyle.
It's like they use, like, airsoft and try to, like, treat that in... or, like, put that into real steel shooting and all that.
Yeah. They go to the range with their real ARs and stuff like that, and they work on shit. Or they throw on a 30-pound, 60-pound pack, and they go for a ruck or whatnot. You know, so there's that. I think if you are going to train, you know, there's kind of like 2 different aspects of, like, what you should do if you're only going to be doing this. Where, like, if you're someone who's just going to go to, like, line claws and stuff like that, just go over the basics.
Yeah.
Communication with your squad, teamwork, you know, bounding, leapfrogging, whatever you want to call it, breach and clear, hand signals, stuff like that. Just get your team chemistry up a little bit. Where if you're going to like a Milsim West game, you might want to throw a lot more cardio in it, because you're going to be playing for 40 straight hours. You're going to be hiking up a mountain with full full pack and shit like that. So, or even with Milsim West training night vision type stuff.
It also depends on like where you're playing. Like if it's like in like a factory or something, you're not going to be running. You're going to be moving slowly and carefully a lot.
Yeah.
And just getting into a lot of like trench fights. But if it's like an outside instance or there's woodland area or you're running from building to building, that's when you need like cardio and like stamina.
I think
and all that.
we have all. I mean, when we were on Spectra, especially before we would go to an event, we would like train at least like once or twice, and we would train specifically for like. I mean, most of the time we knew what we were getting into. So like the Lace Factory, we would kind of train like breaching, like, but the Lace Factory you don't really breach small
and then
rooms.
dealing with people like me.
Yeah. The big thing I think that we always focused on, and then that's another thing. If you know what you're getting into, so if you're going to, we'll use the Lace Factory for an example since we've done it. So if you're a team that's like, hey, we're going to the next Red Storm game at this Grand Lace Factory, we're going to prepare for this. You'll kind of set that in, what's the word? What's the fancy word for schedule? The itinerary.
Yeah.
You'll set the itinerary up
You
for
just say
it.
schedule.
I don't know. I wanted to be fancy.
All right, Tim. Fuck that means.
Anyway, you set it up in that sense of like, okay, like, hey, we're gonna work on flanking maneuvers because you can be sneaky there. We're gonna work on bounding to get across those catwalks and suppressive fire to move from one hallway to the other because there's a lot of the big corridors and everything like that. So having that idea helps. You know, you can really work around that. But again, like with training and everything, like I think it's a benefit because one, I think it's fun. It's something you can do with your boys, and it does help. It does help. It just depending on what you're doing, you know, depending on the level you're going. If you're gonna just be the Lion Claws MSATO guy, you don't really need to go that extreme. Maybe if you want to do some cardio, but really just go over the basics. If you're a Milsim West guy, yeah, you might want to add a little bit more to it because of the demand that they have for that, the extreme demand on your physical body with the 40 straight hours, the hiking, the rucking, you know, so on and so forth. High level competition at a Milsim West game, you want to be prepared.
How do you feel about like training, like as an individual, or I guess we did this as a group, doing like shooting drills, where like you shoot like 3-4 times, and then you reload and you try and like reload as fast as possible.
Oh yeah,
or transition to your sidearm faster than like the other people. Because we did do that quite a few.
Because like none of you ever do.
I mean, I have one.
You just never.
I just don't carry it because I always have my gun set to like the first bracket where like you don't have a minimum engagement distance, and I would rather carry an extra magazine or two than a pistol.
Yeah,
because I mean that's like 4 times that ammunition.
For the longest time, I was like the only one of us that actually used a pistol, to the point where I had that pirate loadout where it was like 6 pistols for playing at the arena.
Yeah, I mean that kind of goes into the basics though. Like the whole shooting drills to get your accuracy up, or like target identification drills, transition drills from primary to sidearm, or, you know, dominant shoulder to weak shoulder, whatnot. That's really the basics. That I really, really, especially target identification drills. You guys remember, like, for example, the drill.
Game.
Yeah, I ran a drill with the guys, and I even tried bringing it to Cutthroat, where I would put up a bunch of cardboard targets in a room that you guys were going to go breach into and stuff like that, and I would put like a blue X on it on one, and tape a dead rag to another one, and it was like you had to go in, and it was that quick. I would always watch the hesitation, everything like that, if you took too long to engage something, or if you were just coming in and just shooting the first thing you saw. So, like, obviously, the one with the blue X was a teammate, the red rag was a dead player, and if it was a cardboard target with nothing on it, it was an enemy. And that really worked for us, because one of the biggest problems you're going to have at a Milsim game is blue on blue. You're going to get friendly fired because people don't check.
Yeah.
We were having an issue with it. It was a couple games in a row where we were team killing and stuff like that, so we addressed it and we worked on it, and it wasn't an issue for us anymore.
I think that definitely is like one of the things. Like training is definitely a thing you have to keep up with, or like your skills are gonna go away.
Yeah.
Like if you don't constantly work on that target identification, you're gonna slip. Which I mean, like we did, it was really bad at like one event, and we were like, all right, we gotta work on this because we got like 6 guys that killed by our own teammates, or we killed our own teammates a shit ton.
And it was starting arguments.
Yeah.
So it's always. That's another thing too. Like that's another big part of like the target identification drill. I've always looked at it as it is like get better at it so our guys can identify the targets. Not only so it's really just so we're not starting arguments.
Yeah.
You know, you run to a room and you shoot your teammate and you say, "Oh my bad, dude," and he gets pissed. You shoot the dead player, he gets pissed.
Yeah.
You know, so it was just kind of like
you're just wasting time that you could be spending playing the game.
Right. And make us better and less arguments.
Yeah. Plus, you make your team look like a bunch of fucking dicks when you go into a room and you're just like shooting everyone.
Yeah. Just pulling the trigger willy-nilly.
So, I guess like another big part of training is like field movements. So we talked about breaching, and you mentioned bounding. I think that's like another big thing that a lot of people don't know how to do.
Yeah.
In airsoft, which is like most airsoft fields are not. I mean, most of the ones in our area are not indoors. They're mostly outdoors, and they do have buildings. But like, if everyone there knew how to bound, or like, whatever that thing Tim called it,
skirmisher,
that would like improve people's effectiveness probably tenfold. Yeah. The fact that you fire and move, fire and move, fire and move.
It's literally a giant game of leapfrog.
Yeah.
And you gain so much ground from doing it because it's as you just said, you're gaining ground and holding suppressive fire at the same time.
Plus, it keeps your team moving forward. Where in like airsoft, a lot of people, like I said, 90% of the people are just going to be like, when you say 3, they're going to be like, oh, okay, only like 3 dudes went.
Yeah, they're going to hesitate. They don't want to go get shot.
I'm already halfway across the bridge.
Yeah. At one, Chalker's already fucking out there charging.
Yep. And they're yelling, no, we're not with you. Come back. Too late. Gotta commit.
And you have to fire your fucking grenade launcher at him. Mercy kill. It's like shooting a deer on the side of a road.
That's already dead. Yeah.
It's like shooting a deer on the side of the road.
And then all the other drivers pull over and like, oh, you poor thing.
You poor thing.
It wasn't even dying.
They ties the get well soon balloon too. I saw. Side note: since I work at the hospital, the one day I was driving to work and there was a dead freaking skunk or raccoon or something on the side of the road, and they literally had like the Geisinger balloon getting soon tied to it. I'm like, that's perfect.
Oh, that's so fucked up. I remember seeing that. I was like, they did it to like a second deer that was there too.
Yeah.
Oh, and they left that thing for like a week.
Yep.
Just let the
gotta love NEPA.
Yeah, back on topic though, the bounding situation is actually like exactly what you said. The amount of people that don't know that don't know how to do that, or like it never pops in their mind.
It's because part of that is like the not even like knowing bounding, but just knowing shoot, and then like as soon as you're done shooting, move.
Yeah,
or just like. And like, there's some situations where you can't do that, where you're actually like engaged with someone, where you're shooting, and there's no like available cover.
Yeah. So let's actually explain this a little bit for people who don't know. So like, bounding or a skirmisher. Skirmisher is a Marine Corps term. Learned that from Tim. What it basically is, if you're trying to take a building, and let's just say the building is 50 yards away from you, you would pretty much get into a straight line. Vertical line.
Revolutionary War shit.
Yeah, just all line up, and start the line from my, I'm standing on one corner, start the line from my right and everything, and you count 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's just say you have 10 guys.
Yeah.
So line one is 5 guys, the other line is the other 5 guys. So what it is you're just trying to gain ground and lay down suppressive fire at the same time. So the first line, those first 5 guys, they run up about 20 feet while the second line is holding down suppressive fire. Then line 1 gets to 20 feet, they stop, they start firing. Line 2, either, this is like a difference of opinion, some people say that when line 1 is set about 20, 30 feet in front of line 2, some people say line 2 then lines back up, or they also go up a 20, they also go back up to...
They go 20 feet past line 1.
Right. I agree with that one. I think you're trying to gain ground, not... I mean, both ways.
It's just basically a difference between, like, inchworming or, like...
Slinking.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I was trying to think of a way to describe that other one.
Yeah.
But that's bounding, and a lot of people don't do that. We may not have explained... No, I think we actually explained
I think you explained that pretty fucking well.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't do that. Same with, like, peeling, like Aussie peels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know how to do that.
This past Sunday when we were at Cookies, actually, Chip from the Patriots and I were, like, engaging a guy in Duncan, and I was like, I'm peeling to your left, and he was just like, what?
Yeah.
And, like, literally all it is, like, I was on his right, and I peeled behind him to a different position further to his left.
Yeah.
Literally all it is.
That's all it is. The Aussie peel is literally, it's kind of like the same thing. You line up in that straight line, and it's from, you're just trying to move horizontally to the other side. So peel right, peel left, and it's kind of like bounding. It's just one at a time to, instead of going forward, you're just going to the left or the right. And that's kind of a maneuver to...
It basically shifts your line so you get into a position where you're still in contact with the enemy to your front, but you're able to start flanking them.
Yeah, it's a flanking maneuver. It's a better angle, get the better angle on them, flank them.
Yeah.
You could also use it to retreat. You're pulling off an objective or something like that because it's too hot.
Yeah.
You got 10 guys and about 6 of them got shot and they're dead and they have to go back to respawn. You can Aussie peel out of that situation with the remaining 4 or 5 guys, how many you have left. But a lot of people don't know this. That's why,
I feel like a lot of people just kind of more or less, like, play video games and they're just like, all right, I want to do this. I can do this. And then, Call of Duty or something.
Airsoft is definitely played as, like, a...
first-person shooter.
Yeah. And everyone kind of just goes out there and does their own fucking thing.
Yeah.
And then when you get a group of guys that actually, like, just even, like, 4 or 6 guys that are like, all right, we know what we're doing...
It's like that stereotypical difference
go to
between
town.
Call of Duty or Battlefield, or like the older Battlefields. Newer ones, but you have lone wolves, and then you have like a squad of 4 people.
Yeah, I think it would be beneficial for every team to train at least a little bit, like we said, like the basics.
Yeah,
just go over the basic stuff with your team and stuff and everything, because your team will become more effective. The game will flow a little bit better. You'll be surprised at how much more your team can accomplish.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be more fun, in my opinion.
Granted, a lot of people don't want to do it. A lot of people are just like, hey, like I said, like the sport, hobby, lifestyle type thing. I
want to do this once a week, smoke some weed or some shit.
Yeah, I'm just trying to hang out with my buddies. I definitely think
that's like a big thing is like people are like, a lot of people have skills in airsoft. Mm-hmm. Like they're naturally good at X, Y, or Z, but if they actually trained, they'd be so much better.
Yeah.
At like A, B, C, and X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. But like a lot of people just don't see it that way.
Yeah.
Where they're like, all right, I'm good where I am.
Which is fine. You play airsoft how you want to play airsoft, but like when people ask, I will always tell them like, hey, yeah, no, it would be beneficial for your team to train.
It always comes down to like how much you want to get into it. Like you can just play it and like lay back, relax, screw it, whatever.
Yeah, as I said, hobby, lifestyle, or sport. But anything else on this?
No.
I think we could.
I was saying in terms of like this, like what you were saying, like everyone, like there are people who are like good at like an X, Y, or Z thing. You want to train on that, you can just do it in everyday life. As I say that with a smirk on my face because I practice sneaking up on my coworkers. They're gonna bastard. They hate me sometimes.
I would too.
It's freaking funny. I could scare them within like 3 times within like a minute.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thanks for joining us for this week of Airsoftaholics Anonymous. Join us next week. I don't know what the fuck we're going to talk about.
We'll post it somewhere.
And since I'm
figure
back,
it out.
yeet.